A really common trait that I've noticed with spiritual seekers and people that meditate is that they will often, after some time, start to question whether they're actually getting closer to their goal. So for many people that are part of my online school and obviously many of you guys have a aspiration to get closer to your source. You might call it the divine, you might call it God, whatever you call it. A lot of spiritual seekers have this aspiration. I want to remove the invisible veils that separate me from who I really am. And in the process, and that's really the spiritual path, but in that process, it can be really difficult to sometimes at least discern it or understand whether you are actually getting closer, whether the things that are in the way of this experience of the divine are actually being removed. They're happening on such a level that we don't perceive it all the time. You might meditate quite regularly, and sometimes it feels like nothing's really happening. But I can assure you that a lot is going on underneath the surface. And I like to look at it a bit like tectonic plates. There's things shifting and moving beneath the surface that we're not perceiving. Sometimes those shifts are so significant that we have an outward experience, or something presents itself externally that becomes obvious, or it might be internal, but we experience it, we feel it. But there are lots of other subtle markers that can show you without any question that you're making amazing progress. And so in today's video, I'm going to list out roughly, I've got 5 points down here, so you might see me look down, that are key markers of your spiritual progress. If you're new to my channel, I've got an online meditation and spiritual school, and there's over 600 people in there at the minute. So I've had an amazing opportunity to see how many people, or how people change in different ways. And alongside that, I've been on the path myself for over 25 years. So I've been through lots of different phases. So the first point that I wanted to make is one that I made in a recent video, which is lack of interest in the world. So you may have been filled with the desires to do things, travel, to achieve things, and you might start to notice, or you may have started to notice, that those aspirations or desires within the world have started to drop away. You're no longer as interested as you perhaps once were. And from the outside, this can seem like there's perhaps an issue with you. You may be starting to wonder, God, there must be something wrong with me. I must be, you know, everyone else is wanting to do all of these different things, but I feel quite content just doing my daily duties. I don't feel like really compelled to do anything more beyond that. And that can be quite strange, and it can make you alienated if you don't realize that that's actually an amazing sign of progress. That is actually a really key marker of progress, that you're dropping desires for the world, and you're not doing it consciously. They're just falling away. And that emptiness that is left can make you feel like there's something missing, or that perhaps I need to add something to that because I've been so used to having these desires all of my life. But I want to assure you, it's perfectly normal, and it's an amazing sign of progress. Another thing is knowing without words and not needing proof for things. You'll start to become attuned to being able to watch YouTube videos, hopefully the ones like this, where you can see through dishonesty or people that aren't talking truth. You start to become very accustomed to what is true and what is not true. And it's not on the level of the intellect, not necessarily. There might be aspects of that, but you can see things and know things to be true or untrue by something deeper within you, by purely the fact that you're within yourself getting closer to truth. So you start to become more accustomed to what truth is and how that resonates with you. It's very hard for me to articulate. You have perhaps had these moments where you read a book and you don't need anyone to prove it. You can just feel the truth. Or you watch a video and you won't be able to necessarily list out why you know it's true, but you just know. Now, that is something that comes about as you get closer to the divine. And if you've been experiencing that type of thing, even if it's just fleeting moments, that's an amazing sign of your progress. The next point that I wanted to make is quite simple, is that you just are naturally more relaxed within yourself. You smiled more, and you're more accepting of people and situations. So what you find is that the veil, the thing that is in the way of our experience of who we really are, primarily is our ego. It's this egoic veil of I, mine, and it creates this separation. Once that veil starts to be removed, once the layers of the onion get peeled away, it's not to say that we've not got an ego, we've all got an ego. But if that veil is made thinner, for want of a better way of putting it, we start to become less clingy to situations. It doesn't matter if something doesn't work out for us as much. We're much more accepting about, okay, there's a problem. Doesn't what's the issue? Whereas perhaps a few years prior, you'd be more clingy to that feeling, or something would go wrong in your life and it would really stick with you for days and weeks. Whereas now you're able to just accept it. It might bother you in the moment. You might get angry or frustrated in the moment, but you are able to let go of it much easier than you once were. Again, this is a sure sign of your spiritual progress and your closeness to the divine. Now, this is a more unique point, but you might find that you are more susceptible to crying, and not in the sense of just random emotions or because you're sad, but you may find that you become more heart centered. So, if you see an animal suffering, or if you see a thing of beauty, or if you read a book where you feel that truth that I was talking about, or if you go into meditation and you feel this real deep sense of love for the divine, or for God, or for whoever you may believe in, these are really, really profound signs of shifting, signs that you are now getting much closer to your source. So things like that are key markers, and these are important to remember because, like I often speak about on my channel, it's easy for us to constantly have our eyes on these big flashy moments, these big experiences, these kundalini awakenings, and we oftentimes won't recognize all of these other changes that are going on beneath the surface, which are in many ways more impactful in our daily life. They actually help us more in daily life. But still, I think naturally our human tendency is to want the big flashy experiences, the out of body experiences. And I understand that. I wanted that. Before I'd had those types of things, I wanted them as well. But they may come in their own time. It doesn't really matter. These are the undercurrent changes that actually are signs of your deep inner transformation. They're much more useful for daily life, and they are key markers that you're growing spiritually. So they're not to be overlooked. The final one that I wanted to talk to you about is you may find that you start to become much more sensitive to what you're consuming. So food, it might be that you have been eating meat for many years and you start to think, you know what, I think my body needs a more refined fuel now. So you move on to a vegetarian diet, or perhaps you're veggie and you move on to a vegan diet, or perhaps you're vegetarian and actually you become more attuned to what your body needs, and you may decide that you need meat in your diet. It's less common that people go that way around. People tend to let go of meat, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to. It might be that you start to recognize that actually sugar is impacting you greatly, and so you let go of sugar. Or a common one that I know people tend to experience is caffeine. So a lot of people start to let go of caffeine. Doesn't mean everyone has to, and it doesn't mean that's exactly what you need to do. Your body will be unique. Your body's obviously unique to you, and you have to become more accustomed to what it needs. But you do become more accustomed to what it needs, and you start to know and you start to become very sensitive to what you're putting in your body. So you might have once been quite a big drinker, but now you have one or two drinks and your body really feels it. You know that you've put fuel into your body that your body is not needing, it's not wanting, it's not useful for it. If we're talking in terms of vibration, your body is vibrating up here and you've put something that's vibrating down there into it, and it's created this imbalance. So I wanted to share this with you just to encourage you and show you that the signs of progress are much more subtle often than we often think they might be. And hopefully one or many of those points has resonated with you, and you can see that you're here now, you're watching this video, you're probably doing the work as well. Hopefully you're doing the work. You're making good progress. And don't forget that. Don't overlook these points. They're very, very important. And I wish you all the best moving forward. If you do need help, then I have an online meditation and spiritual school. I'll leave a link in the description below. But failing that, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot.